a panic that on October 4th, Joe Biden will use cell phones to attack the whole population of the United States, something about a frequency that can harm and kill. She told me that I need to wrap my cell phone in aluminum foil and place it in the microwave for the day. I shit you not. And yeah, if you look, that tinfoil and microwave idea was passed around a lot, with some even taking advantage of people's stupidity to make money. Like, for example, the survivalist retailer My Patriot Supply, which advised people to buy bags that block electromagnetic fields to protect their devices. All of which was especially strange given that all you had to do to turn off the alert was to simply turn off your phone or turn on airplane mode. And unfortunately, this whole story gets to be yet another example of no matter how absurd conspiracy theories are, people will believe it. And then for some reason, no matter how many times none of these things come true, they go, yeah, but the next one, because remember, the 5G is going to activate something in the vaccine. That's just the latest thing. They've been saying that people that got the vaccine, they're going to be dead in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Fuck. 5G signals? No, it's the next eclipse. No, actually, they've been trying to activate it through space lasers, but the space lasers are broken and they're just starting these forest fires by accident. Ugh, it's just all so ridiculous. I'm so thankful that I don't have close family members that are like this. And for those of you that have them, oh my God, my heart goes out to you. Like, I have to deal with the internet every day because it's my job, and so I see people like this existing, but if they were part of the family line, I don't know what I'd do. And then, is iShowSpeed encouraging dangerous behavior online? That is a question that's being debated right now after his latest online stunt resulted in him needing medical attention. I just got to preface this, and I say this with no ill intent. Speed is getting exactly what he wants out of this because, you know, I mean, what's his job? He is a professional overreactor and doer of stupid things, right? He does one of or a combination of those two things. People clip it, people then write articles about it, it gets to me, we go blah, blah, blah. I'm like, who's surprised by any of it? Like, that's the job, that's the gig. I mean, he's not a victim of it, right? Like, he didn't apply for the job and he's just doing what the boss said. He is the CEO of Do Stupid Shit Inc. And stuff like this will only continue to happen and grow if the platforms allow it, right? And I say all that before we get into this story, which is Speed, I guess, going, you know, it's old news for me to set off fireworks in my room. What if I did an elephant toothpaste experiment in my room? Nothing's gonna go terribly wrong and people are gonna clip it and I'm gonna get more views. Oh no. Because for those of you unfamiliar, the elephant toothpaste experiment is an at-home science project that makes a big foam reaction by combining hydrogen peroxide dish soap and a catalyst like yeast or potassium iodide. Now, generally, it's considered family friendly. You can do it with your kids, but like with anything, you have to take basic safety precautions into account and you gotta follow the instructions. But when iShowSpeed did this and he put the ingredients together, this happened.
It didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't work. Yo. Oh! What the is going on? Oh my God. Ah! Oh my God. I can't breathe. I'm not dead. I can't breathe.
Speed then steps out of the room. You can hear an alarm going off. He later comes back into the room with snot basically dripping down his nose. He then quickly leaves again. And there then being a note in the jet explaining that firefighters had given him oxygen to help him breathe. But his cameraman also later posting an update saying that he was okay. And with all of this, it's worth noting that in the YouTube upload of it, they put a disclaimer warning saying, do not try this at home, and saying that it was done with medics on scene. But still, you had tons of people shocked that it went this wrong since it's a relatively kid-friendly experiment. Right? I mean, even places like Scholastic have guides on it. But you also have others saying this must have been staged or he botched it on purpose reviews. But ultimately, it looks like most people are kind of just taking this at face value and they're just concerned. They think it's only a matter of time before he hurts himself or someone else because he constantly does bits like this. Slamming him for not wearing protection like goggles, saying kids shouldn't be allowed to watch him. But ultimately, with this story, I gotta pass a question off to you. When you look at this content, is it something that you like? Do you think it's just kind of stupid nonsense or do you think it's dangerous? Now, for me, I see the potential risks of his content, but I'm kind of just unbothered and bored by it personally. I don't mean that with any sort of ill intent, right? Like I say that as some fucking boring, talentless hack on the internet. It's just that, and it might be more like the context and comparison of everything. I'm personally less bothered by this than, you know, influencers out there that are like platforming fucking Nazis or they're harassing people in public and calling it pranks. And if what Speed is doing bothers you, I'm not negating that. I'm not saying, hey, that's not valid. As someone that just has to look at all the news, I don't have enough energy to feel as strongly about every single story equally. And then political commentator Hassan Piker has found himself in some hot water. That's because a clip's been circulating online showing him and podcaster Ethan Klein talking about Tibet. That's because Hassan was pretty clearly defending China's ongoing occupation of the region, saying,
okay, Ethan, but like,
go ahead.
Tibet was literally a feudal slave mandate, like so autonomous zone.
China did them a favor.
That was one. I mean, in America, when I say something like this, people get very upset. You know, we talk about the Dalai Lama saying "suck my tongue" or whatever, but like that's not far from the norm in normal Tibetan existence before the Communist Party came in and
so China unilaterally took over Tibet, like these are their culture, they basically are trying to, homogenize the culture.
If your culture,
They're trying to spoil the religion and the identity.
the part of
they did them
feudal
a
warlords
favor.
and slavery, abolishing that, yes, I do think that is good.
But the two then getting into how Hassan would equate Tibet in the 40s and 50s with the South during the Civil War, which just a few things first. Historically speaking, Hassan is correct that a lot of us don't really understand what Tibet was like. For the average Tibetan, it wasn't good. Slavery was rampant, both bad things. We can all agree on that. But for many, they said their issue with Hassan was that he was painting it as if China went in for a noble cause rather than just blatant imperialism with comments like, Hassan defends colonialism and genocide as long as it's the good tribe he supports that are committing it. What else is new? Or people saying, by this logic, essentially all colonialism done by the British post their abolition of slavery is completely justified and acceptable. And then finally, for this section, the one that got the most traction, probably because Hassan actually responded to it, was Hassan with the standard tanky racism where you treat East Asians like some magical race of superhumans who aren't doing the exact same imperialism we do in the West. He just wants the US with a communist flag on it. With him talking a bit before saying,
it's racist to say that there is like any kind of liberation that could exist in an Asian country. Like, what the
But that person then going on to argue and point out that the problem wasn't that slavery was getting abolished, but that it was used as an excuse to stick around and annex the place, such as when Japan took over Korea in the early 1900s, only to then try and kill off Korean culture, kind of like what China is doing in Tibet now. Right, so for them, they're saying that it feels disingenuous for Hassan to say that he's anti-imperialist, but then go pro-imperialism when a communist or non-Western country does it under the guise of changing a culture. But with all that said, for everyone out there, and especially you history nerds that watch the show, what are your thoughts on this topic? And then, y'all know I've been telling you about Raycons for years now, but did you know that they're turning 6 this year? And they've done a great job at making a name for themselves in the premium audio space during that time. And they're a fantastic sponsor of this show, so happy birthday, Raycon. And check this out. To thank everyone who's shown them support these past 6 years, Raycon is offering 20% off everything on their site, with select products 40% off. Also, Raycon has expanded its entire business this past year with the introduction of Raycon Home and Raycon PowerTech, so needless to say, there's a lot to celebrate. And they've really paved the way with their everyday earbuds, known for delivering high-quality audio and thoughtful features. Things like a 32-hour battery life and a comfortable, perfect in-ear fit for all-day wear. And all this at half the price of other premium brands. And so it's no wonder they've already racked up 78,000 five-star reviews. For me, they're great for listening to podcasts, riding on my bike, when I'm hiking, when I travel. So celebrate Raycon turning 6 with their biggest sale of the year going on now. Just go to buyraycon.com/DeFranco and use code BIRTHDAY to get 20 to 40% off site-wide. And remember, they offer a 30-day free return policy. And then, can AI help prevent people from slipping into homelessness? That is a very real question that Los Angeles is hoping to answer with this pilot program that does just that. It uses AI to try and predict who might become homeless and help them before they actually do. With the program, which has been described as a first-of-its-kind experiment being run by the LA County Department of Health Services to try and limit the ever-growing homeless population. Because while an average of 207 people in the county exit homelessness each day, that's being outpaced by the 227 falling into homelessness. In fact, LA is actually housing people more than ever before and building a ton of low-income housing, but it's still not enough to meet the demand. And so the goal of this pilot program is to try and address the problem head-on and prevent things from getting worse. And so the first step is to identify these folks, with NPR explaining. The program tracks data from 7 county agencies, including emergency room visits, crisis care for mental health, substance abuse disorder diagnosis, arrests, and signups for public benefits like food aid. And then, using machine learning, it comes up with a list of people considered most at risk for losing their homes. Then, once the at-risk people have been flagged by the AI, the focus shifts to actually getting them into the prevention program. Case managers are tasked with reaching out through letters and cold calling to try and enroll them. And once they actually are enrolled, the at-risk Angelinos are given financial aid and access to other services to help them keep their housing, with single adults getting as much as either $4,000 or $6,000 in assistance that they do not have to pay back. So you've got this very ambitious program, but right now it's unclear if a few months of assistance and a few $1,000s can actually keep people housed for the long term, or if it's even effectively targeting the right people. And this notably as experts who help develop the AI expect to publish a study with comprehensive results in 2026, which also happens to be when the program's funding runs out. Though obviously they hope that the results are going to show this is a successful program, and that with the help of the data, they can urge other policymakers to scale up the program and use it as a model. And in fact, already that's something that we're seeing elsewhere in California, with San Diego County also voting to approve a similar program. And then, y'all, we gotta talk about this McCarthy shit show. Right, you've seen it right now. For the first time in U.S. history, the House has voted to remove a speaker, with a final vote against McCarthy coming in at a narrow 216 to 210. And very notably there, while Matt Gaetz was the Republican that put all this into motion, only 8 Republicans ended up voting in favor of ousting McCarthy, with him joining all the Democrats who were in attendance. And that's very, very notable because there had been some speculation before the vote that the Democrats might just vote present or not vote at all, which would then leave enough room for the rest of the the Republican caucus to save McCarthy. But in the end, the Democrats ultimately went, why are we going to protect the guy who's publicly pissing on us? I mean, first looking back, for much of his tenure as Speaker, McCarthy has only further and further isolated himself from Democrats, often just refusing to negotiate in good faith, frequently caving to the far-right faction of his party and pushing totally partisan bills. But really, it's the actions that we've seen in recent weeks that put the final nail in the coffin. Right? I mean, he launched an impeachment inquiry into Biden despite there being a lack of evidence. He went back on the